All right. Shalom to the brothers and sisters that's online. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Happy blessed feast of Purim to my family that's online. Uh, Shalom and blessed Purim to the house of Bayan and Ashar, to Kohath, to Shaul Yisrael, uh, and anyone else who'll be joining in on this blessed feast day of the Lord. We want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. It is that time, our annual year, to remember the destruction of our enemies. We just came off of a beautiful Nicanor feast, feast last night, going right back into another powerful deliverance by the Most High when it came down to our enemies coming against us in these days and times uh, during the time of the Persian and Mede captivity. I want to do just a little bit of history background, then we'll get into the actual understanding and the representation of the feast. Let's just start off in Romans 15 and 4. Start off in Romans 15 and 4. Shalom from Egypt to Israel. Yahweh Hashem Yahshua to you, good brother. Let me get this banner up. Let's get a little history regarding the feast. And always know it is not a Sabbath, however, it is a memorial, which means a remembrance and a convocation as such in commemoration of the Lord's deliverance of his children from said destruction at the hands of our enemies, man. There was a bounty and a hit put out on all Israelites, all the Jews that was in the scattered captivity of the Persians and Medes. And it was only through the grace and mercy of the Most High and the bravery of one of our beloved sisters named Esther, who sacrificed herself, in a sense, for the children of Israel at the wisdom and guidance of her uncle, being Mordecai. All right, so let's read that in Romans 15:4 first.
Book of Romans, chapter 15, and verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
So any history that we get is written for our learning. Okay, so we can't be ignorant and just say, "Oh, that doesn't matter." Who knows about that? You know, we can't live in the Old Testament. We got to live in the New, under the New Covenant. All that old stuff is gone away with through the blood of Christ. He nailed it to the cross. No, the remembrance and the glory that came along with these feast days is very important because it gives our people inspiration. It's supposed to be an inspiring story, man, to have some real self-esteem and pride about who we are. You know, the bravery of our people being able to stand up to the point to where we even have this word right now. You know, you go through the history with the Maccabees, man, you have men, women, children was getting put to death just for being an Israelite, just for being a Jew, right? They try to disconnect us from our laws and our commandments, our power, which is our Heavenly Father. You know, they try to completely destroy our whole legacy. And it took some brave men and women, man, to stand on 10 toes to say, I'm not going for it. You know, and whatever it takes, we're going to go through it in order to preserve our future and our legacy. All right. Jump over to St. John 15:13. St. John 15 and verse 13. And then
Book of St. John, chapter 15, verse 13. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends.
So when we're reading about this history in Purim and Esther, this is a real love story. And I ain't talking about romantically and the links between her and King Ahasuerus, which is Xerxes the First. We ain't talking about that type of love story. We're talking about the love that she had for her people, her nation, that she was willing to give her own life if it meant the liberation of our people. Same way Yahweh Shai gave his life for the liberation of our people. We're talking about real revolutionary acts, man. We're in the last week, so-called Black History Month. And if we really want to talk about, you know, real legacy history when it comes down to our matriarchs like Esther, you know, we salute Sojourner Truth and Rosa Parks and Harriet Tubman and all the other sisters that, you know, played a part in the legacy. But we got to go even further back than that. Just like the Most High said, we just got to read in Romans. The things that were done aforetime are written for our learning, right? So let's go a little bit further beyond that. All right, jump over to the book of Daniel. Book of Daniel. And I'm gonna share this PowerPoint. I'm not gonna do the whole chapter. I just want to get a history or get an understanding on the time frame that we're living in. I mean that we're representing. We're talking about the Persian and the Mede captivity, otherwise known as the Achaemenid Empire. Achaemenid Empire. Achaemenid Empire. Let me get that. Go ahead and read Daniel 7 and 1.
Book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
In the first year, Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed.
Right. So Daniel is having a dream, right? Under King Belshazzar. He's getting ready. This is under the Babylonian captivity. The king is having, Daniel's having a vision, right? Read on.
Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea.
The great sea. All right, hold on. Give me Revelation 17:15. What is this great sea? Some will say it's the Mediterranean because that was the greatest sea there of the known earth at the time. The scriptures will also pronounce it as a populace of people. All right, and we'll get that precept in Revelation 17:15.
We got Revelation 17, verse 15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues.
So the four winds are representing these four kingdoms, right? And they are going to be standing on top of peoples, nations, tongues. This is talking about kingdom rulerships. Okay, read verse 3.
Verse 3. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
Diverse one from another, right? Mm-hmm. So hold that and jump over to let's read verse 17.
Book of Daniel 7:17. These great beasts, which are four kings.
Are four kings, right? So when we're reading about these four beasts in Daniel, we're talking about four kings. So this is going to be historically, and this is accurately depicted in all scholarship circles. When we're talking about major kingdom rulerships, we're reading about it prophetically through the vision of Daniel. We're going to be talking about, I'm going to get right to the point with the Persians and the Medes. But the initial kingdom that Daniel saw was the Babylonian captivity, or the rule of the Babylonians, right? The next would be the Persians and the Medes. After that would be the Greeks, and following that would be the Romans. We're going to look at the Persians and the Medes because it pertains to the history regarding Esther, Purim, our scattering within the Persian and the Mede captivity, right? Another time I'll go through all of the beasts, but I just want to get right to the point regarding this particular beast that we found ourselves under in bondage. All right. Drop down and let's read verse 5.
Daniel 17, verse 5. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh.
So this second beast said that it was going to be like a bear. So this bear is going to be a representation of power, dominance, rulership, right? You look at the grizzly bear. The grizzly bear in its habitat is the alpha wherever it goes. Black bears run from them. They ain't messing around with them. Wolves, nobody's messing around with the grizzly, right? Now, this particular bear had three ribs in its mouth. Now, these three ribs, we're going to see here. Let's see here. I want to read this. Read it one more time.
Daniel 17 and verse 5. And behold, another beast, the second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it.
So the one side is the dominant side being the Persian side. You got the Persians and the Medes, right? Hold that. Give me Daniel the 5th chapter and let's read 28.
Book of Daniel 5, verse 28.
Mm-hmm.
Perez, thy kingdom is.
Actually, it's like you can start at 25.
Verse 25.
Now this is the writing that was on the wall. Nebuchadnezzar seen his writing on the wall. None of his magicians, none of his wise men could interpret it. They called Daniel. He said, Daniel, read what's on this wall, man. Tell me what this is talking about. Read.
Verse 25. And this is the writing that was written. Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene. God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it.
So Mene means number. So he's letting King Nebuchadnezzar know that his days is numbered as far as being a rulership kingdom any longer. Okay, go ahead.
Tekel, thou art weighed in the balance.
So he's let him know that he's now being weighed in the balance, meaning his kingdom now is being judged. Right?
And art found wanting.
Mm-hmm.
Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians.
So there you see where the transition is coming from the first beast to the second beast. Babylon is that first beast. He's saying now they're going to, the days are numbered, they're going to be judged, they're going to be found wanting, meaning they're going to be taken out of rulership and going to be replaced by the Persians and the Medes. All right. Jump back over here to Jeremiah 51 and 11. And as he's getting that, I'm going to read this little history regarding what it means when it says the bear was laying on one side. That says the Persians' dependence on the Medes was terminated by Cyrus II, who rebelled against the last of the Median kings, Astyages. Astyages marched against them, but the Median army revolted and handed over their king to Cyrus in 550. Plundering Ecbatana, now Hamadan, the Median capital, Cyrus became ruler of Media. So it's showing you the transition of power from the Persians and the Medes. Cyrus took over rulership after they defeated the Medes, and the Medes handed over their kingdom. All right, the Astyages. It says, according to the official Persian tradition, he was the maternal grandson of Astyages and was supported by the Median nobles. To the outside world, his seizure of the Median crown looked like a mere change of dynasty. Media, which is an alliance with Babylon, had destroyed the Assyrian Empire in 612, was a great power, whereas the Persians had been unknown before Cyrus. Therefore, foreigners. Speaking from Herodotus, it says, Herodotus said they continue to speak of Medians, meaning Persian. In Daniel 8 and 3, the two-horned ram is a symbol of Media and Persia. All right, so when it's saying is laying on one side, it's showing the dominant side rulership of the Persians under Cyrus. Okay, Jeremiah 51 and 11.
Verse 11, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes for his devices against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple.
All right, so we see here that the Medes led the charge in regards to taking out Babylon from power, right? And they aligned themselves with the Persians, took out the Babylonians out of power, and now you got the Persians and the Medes as ruling. Okay, give me one more in Isaiah 45 and 14.
Book of Isaiah 45, verse 14. Verse 14. Thus saith the Lord, the labor of Egypt, the merchandise of Ethiopia, and of the Sabians, men of stature, shall come over unto thee, and they shall be thine. They shall come after thee, in chains they shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee. They shall make supplication unto thee, saying, surely Yahweh is in thee, and there is none else. There is no God.
Is that, what's that? Isaiah?
He said 45:14.
Yeah, no, I can't get you. Can't get you wrong one.
Mhm.
That's okay. You can drop that one. Jump over to Daniel 8 and 3, and then we'll do Daniel 11.
Book of Daniel, chapter 8, verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 3. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, three stood before the river, a ram which had two horns, and the two horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last.
Right. So this is what we're talking about when the bear laying on one side, showing the dominance of the Persians. The one horn being longer and stronger than the other. The horn is representing power, right? So this is where we're seeing the transition of power of between the Persians and the Medes. Okay. No, you know what? I did want that Isaiah 45, but I want to let's read 11 and 11 too. Daniel
11:11.
11. Just start at verse 1. We'll read 1 and I think I want 1 in verse. Let's read 1 down to 3.
Book of Daniel, chapter 11, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the fourth shall be far richer than they all.
Right. So these 3 kings that were rising up within Persia is Cambyses. He ruled from 529 to 521 BC. Then you have Pseudo-Smyrnus. He ruled in 521. You got Darius the first from 521 to 47, and the fourth is Xerxes, or as we're going to be reading in Esther, Ahasuerus. All right, and he ruled from 485 to 464 BC. All right, so he was the most powerfulest of all the 4 that they're talking about here in verse 2. Okay, you can read verse 3.
Verse 3. And a mighty king shall stand up, that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will.
Now that mighty king is going to come up and talk about Alexander. He's going to be the one who's going to take over the rulership from the Persians and the Medes. All right. Now, before we go to back to Isaiah 45, I want to read Daniel 7 one more time, and let's talk about those 3 ribs. Verse 5.
Book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 5.
Mm-hmm.
And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side. And it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it.
So the 3 ribs between its teeth, right, of the Persians and the Medes, is Babylon, which is 1 rib that they took out. That was in 539 BC. Then in 546, you had Lydia. And then the third one would be Egypt. They took them out in 525 BC. So here we see here in the on the PowerPoint, it says Cyrus went on to conquer the Lydian kingdom of Croesus in 547 and the Babylonian empire of Nabonidus in 539. His son Cambyses in 525 added Egypt to the Persian dominions, which now extended from the Nile to Siradaria, or Xerxes, and the Indies. Now, let's get that other one of the ribs, and that's what I want, Isaiah 45, 14.
Book of Isaiah, chapter 45.
So we read in Jeremiah 51, the conquering of Babylon. Now we're seeing here in Isaiah 45, the conquering of Egypt. 45:14.
Isaiah 45, verse 14. Thus saith the Lord, the labor of Egypt and merchandise of Ethiopia and of the Sabians, men of stature, shall come over unto thee, and they shall be thine. They shall come after thee in chains. They shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee. They shall make supplication unto thee, saying, Surely God is in thee, and there is none else. There is no God.
See, the labor of Egypt, they're going to be put into bondage, right? They're going to be taken out of power, all right? So this is the era that we're talking about. We're going back over here to the Daniel, the 7th chapter, 3rd verses. We're talking about the Persians and the Medes. Now we can go to Esther. If you see on the map here, when it says to devour much flesh, you see the expansion and how big the rulership kingdom of the Persians and the Medes was, which we're going to read in Esther, the 1st chapter. You can start at verse 1, and then, we'll keep it pushing from there.
Which one you want?
Esther.
Oh, excuse me.
Esther, you can start at verse 1, and then we're just going to skip around.
Book of Esther, chapter 1, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, this is Ahasuerus which reigned from India even to Ethiopia.
So remember, he's going under two different names. You got Ahasuerus, which is the Hebrew rendition, but most historians all agree this was Xerxes the first. It's the same cat that you see in the movie 300. When you see him on that throne, he got the nose ring, damn near half naked with all the gold on and all of that, and on the throne. This is the cat we're talking about based upon the movie. If you need a visual, you want to know, like, who? Nigga 300 and the Persians and the Medes that they were battling, that was Xerxes. Okay, go ahead. He said he had 127 provinces. So when you see on the PowerPoint and it's showing you devouring much flesh, you can see everywhere that he ruled, except from India to Ethiopia. So if you see all the way to the east, the borderline there of India, and then we're going all the way down to Ethiopia, going all the way to the west, the southwest of Ethiopia, even rising up to Lower Egypt, Lydia, you see up here near Sardis and Cilicia, Cappadocia. They devoured much flesh. The Persians and the Medes had an expansive kingdom, right? And guess who was scattered all amongst them? Deuteronomy 28:64. Let's read that too.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 64. Verse 64.
Okay.
Okay. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
So we see clearly that our people have been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. When we was under the Persians and the Medes, we still had a diaspora that was happening within this particular era right now, right? So within these 127 provinces, you had jakes all over the place. So you just seen on the map everywhere the jakes could have been, from India all the way to Ethiopia and in between. Okay. Now let's go back to Esther 1.
Book of Esther 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, this is Ahasuerus which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 127 provinces, that in those days when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the palace, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants.
So Shushan is in like modern day Iran, okay? And this is like a capital city of Elam or the Persians. So this is where he was reigning and ruling. Okay, read on.
Verse 3, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all the princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the promises being before him.
So this is when they still had a bond as a duality of rulership, but the Persians was clearly the leaders of the kingdom, right? Read on.
Verse 4, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace.
So they want to glorify their kingdom, their rulership. They're trying to show out and let it be known. Hey, you know what? We want to we want to show the world the glory of the Persians and the Medes. We're gonna have a 7 day turn up. We want everybody coming. So Ahasuerus is getting ready to throw this big old shindig in regards to the glory and the rulership of the Persians and the Medes. Drop down, read verse 9.
Verse 9, also Vashti, the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to King Ahasuerus.
So Vashti was his wife at the time. She wanted to have her own feast. Vashti was always in rebellion of King Ahasuerus or Xerxes, right? She didn't want to, be a part of the rulership that Xerxes was establishing. He wanted her to come out to be his first lady, to show her off his what they call it, trophy wife or whatnot. And she was like, I'm not doing that. I ain't coming out. I can throw my own party, And that's where you see, man, when the Most High tells the women and the men of Israel that rebellion is a sin of witchcraft, the Most High is not with that. The Most High is not with trying to, outdo, usurp for the sisters out there. Most High is not what you trying to outdo and usurp your husbands and talk about anything you can do, I can do better. The Most High is not with all of that. And even in the Persians, their rulership, they was like, look, that ain't how we supposed to be getting down. But Xerxes was losing the grip on what was happening in his household. But continue on.
Verse 10, on the seventh day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Meshullam, Biztha, Harbonah, Bigtha, and Abagtha, Zethar, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal.
Right. So, he done gone 7 days without her presence. She got her own little thing going on. He's got his thing going on. He's, wet, tripping off the wine. And he's like, man, where the hell is my queen at? Wait, Vashti, tell her get out here. Bring the queen. You bring the crown royal, so that everybody can awe and gawk at her beauty. Really?
For she was fair to look on.
Right. So, the heathen always caught up in the vanity. He wanted everybody to see what his wife was looking like. It's almost like, what do you got nowadays, man? You guys are like modern day pimps. You know what I'm saying? They got these guys out here pimping out they women, telling them go online and do cam shows and go do your little modeling and all that and bring the money back on to me. Let everybody see you, just so long as I get the money, I get the glory. The scriptures tell us that if the man gets his glory through the woman in 1 Corinthians 11, so he still wants to have that same glory. You say, well, I want everybody envying me because I got the baddest one in the kingdom. And Vashti's like, oh, is that what you think I am? A piece of me? That's what you think I am? Something for you to show off your little trophy? I ain't coming out. So read that in 12.
Verse 12. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him.
Drop down verse 15. So now we're seeing the rebellion in the house now has Ahasuerus hot. Vashti said, man, the hell with him, middle finger, tell him I ain't coming. I'm partying with my girls. Go ahead.
Verse
15.
Verse 15. Mm-hmm. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to the law? Because she hath not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains. And Memucan answered before the king and the princess Vashti the queen hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus.
So his advisors came and told him, said, look, this is a bad look, man. She's in open rebellion. She got her own party and her own glory going on over here. And now it's going to look bad on the rest of the kingdom. You're losing the grip of your power. Really, who's running? When you read, what is it, First Ezra 4, when it said who got more power, the king, the queen,
King or the queen,
or the wine, is what was it?
Right.
Yeah, wine and the queen. I mean, that was clear. So, man, the woman rules it all, man. She sits on his lap, takes the crown off, puts it on her head, slaps him,
laughs.
He goes out and kills and destroys nations and kingdoms, all to say, hey, baby, look what I did. All for you, So they're saying, hey, Ahasuerus, you losing all of that, man. You falling complete victim to this. And it's going to spread in our houses. Because now my wife is already over there with basking in the party. She's getting filled with all kinds of spirits and demons on her that she's going to bring back to our houses, man. I've been already dealing with it 7 days. Memucan is like, we're in day 7. My wife ain't been home yet. She hanging with your wife, man. We got to do something about this. Go
ahead. Verse 17. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes, when it shall be reported. The king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not.
He's commanding. He said, send for her, bring her in. And they keep going out there saying, King, we trying. She keeps telling us, no. She's not even opening the door. We banging, we telling her, get out here. You're commanded to come. She's not moving. Verse 18.
Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen, thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath.
They talking about the whole kingdom being completely destroyed just off of one woman's rebellion. So they saying in order to save this thing, man, you got to make a move. Jump over to hold that and go to Proverbs 19 and verse 12.
Book of Proverbs 19, verse 12. Verse 12. The king's wrath is as the roaring of a lion, but his favor is as dew upon the grass.
Right. So the king's wrath, man, can be is strong as a lion. If you're under the rulership of a wrathful king, man, he's gonna rule like a lion, man. But if you get his favor, it said that you're gonna be as a dew upon the grass. The dew upon the grass is what nourishes the grass, what allows it to grow, which feeds what the animals it feeds, everything else. It's the whole cycle of life, right? So if you get the favor, that means you're going to gain the benefits. You're going to gain everything of sustenance that you need in order to maintain rule. If you have the rulership of the king, so now that it's in a position now where Ahasuerus is going to be hot, and his wrath is going to be like a roaring lion. Now it's about, well, which and how do we deal with rulership in such a fashion, right? Jump back over to Esther, and let's read jump over to, let's see, chapter 3. Actually, no, chapter 2.
Chapter 2?
Yeah, chapter 2. And now before we go there, 1 Samuel. I quoted it, but I wanted to read it too. 1 Samuel 15, 23.
Book of 1 Samuel 15, 23. Verse 23. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry.
You can see how the Most High feels about that. Stubbornness, rebelliousness He says it's like witchcraft. And we know that the punishment for a witch is to give them death according to the law. So the Most High is not really with us. So we already see how this whole thing is going to be able to take the kingdom of the Persians and the Medes into a position to where things are going to get very rocky, very shaky, just because of rebelliousness, sin, stubbornness, all being a part of the equation. The Most High is going to move and put a spirit on the Persians and the Mede kingdom, right? And it's all going to be for the liberty of the children of Israel at the end of the day. Give me a Habakkuk. Habakkuk 1 and 4. And then we'll go back there.
Book of Habakkuk, chapter 1 and verse 4. Verse 4, therefore the law is slack, and judgment doth never go forth.
See, that's what happens, and that's the lesson to learn for us as Israelites, man, is to understand and know where and how the Most High deals with judgment. When judgment is slack and the law is slack, judgment doesn't ever go forth. What ends up happening? Go ahead.
For the wicked doth compass about the righteous, therefore wrong judgment proceeded.
So this is why Ahasuerus had to make a judgment within his kingdom, because the Most High is saying if you have slacking of the law, and that's for anything regarding congregations, bodies, camps, whatever the case may be, you have to have judgment. You got to instill the law, because this is a whole cut just for the whole new covenant. We ain't got to keep the law scenario. But the Most High is telling you, if the law is slack, judgment doesn't go forth. What's the phrase that everybody says now? You can't judge me. Don't judge me. The average dope fiend on the corner that don't know nothing, he can at least say, doesn't the Bible say, judge not unless you be judged? You say, well, what other scriptures do you know? Can you say the next verse? I don't know, but I heard that one just to get you up off my back. Didn't judge. Christ said you can't judge. Don't judge. What? Scripture says that a spiritual man judges all things, and the law is spiritual, right? So the Most High has let us know, if the law is not present, you're going to have wickedness compassing righteousness. That's what we see all throughout the earth right now. And as long as you got these glitterbug crack fiend preachers out there constantly injecting, we don't need to keep the law. We're in liberty. We're in grace. We ain't got to do that. We're in the new covenant. Christ paid the debt. We're in the law of Christ. We only got to keep the two greatest commandments, and everything else. We're going to continually be here suffering in bondage, dealing with oppression, still prophesying and saying, how much longer, Lord? We got another 20 years down the line. We're still talking about we're in the last days. Because the opposition is constantly running around here with the spirit of Satan on them, saying the law is slack. We ain't got to have judgment. So what's going to happen? Wickedness is going to constantly be engulfed in this world, as we see it presently right now. And it says, therefore, wrong judgment proceedeth. So if the law is not there to create right judgment, then what are we judging on? Our own understandings, our own feelings of what we think should happen, what I feel is right or okay. No, the Lord said, I gave you righteous judgment. Although we can't execute all the judgments that the Lord said, but you have to be able to establish a fine line to say right and wrong, right? And consequences have to be preceded after the fact. All right, let's go back over to Esther. And you can pick it up at chapter 2. Let's start verse 1.
Chapter 2, verse 1. After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants.
So what was decreed against her was Queen Vashti was exiled, right? So he divorced her, exiled her out of the kingdom. And now there's a quote unquote for lack of better terms, a lottery or a beauty pageant is going to be held for the next queen. Okay, so the decrees went out. Everybody's understanding and knowing and heard about what happened to Vashti. Now the king is getting ready to look for her replacement. Okay, continue on.
Verse 2. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king, and let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan, the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of Hegai, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them. And let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so.
So they're getting ready to establish this pageantry for the next queen. So they said we'll go throughout the whole kingdom, man. Find all of the fine young virgins and bring them before the king. Let them go through the purification, and whichever one the king selects is going to take the place of Vashti. All right, read on.
Verse 4. And let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti, and the things pleased the king, and he did so. Verse 5. Now in Shushan, the palace there, was a certain Jew, whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shemaiah, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried away with Jeconiah and Judah, with Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away.
So Mordecai was part of the Babylonian captivity. He went in under Jeconiah and his rule, and that would be the end of the rulership through Jeconiah after they went into captivity, right? And then later it came back through Zerubbabel. So Jeconiah was the king that Mordecai went into captivity with under Babylon. All right, go ahead.
Verse 7. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter.
So we see the transition of captivities, right? So we're going from Babylon, going right to our next captivity. You know, you got Moab running around thinking they got next. We're not going into another captivity. This is the last one, okay? Esau, his rulership, this is our last stop before our deliverance. Man, Moab think they lining up and we about to be what? Got to be kidding, man. That's out of here. No, those days are over. Our forefathers went from one bondage to the next bondage to the next bondage and just constantly having new oppressors over them. We're at the final stages. We're in the last bondage and the last captivity. Thus saith the Lord. All right, continue on.
And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother. And the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace, to the custody of Hegai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Hegai.
So we see, just even if you're looking at it, even from a structural standpoint of family, right? Mordecai was her cousin, but because she was orphaned, so to speak, without a mother and father, him being the next of kin and being a male, he had to have rulership over her to take care of her, right? He wasn't just like, oh, it's my cousin, man. She out there doing her thing. Oh, you know. No, he had to step up and say, well, I got to take you in. If he's older and he was able to take care of her, he took her in as his own daughter, right? So that's how we transferred responsibilities down the line. You know, it was a law that we had to take care of a single mother or widow, you know, let alone you got your own cousins, family then died and all that. It's like, oh, well, they gotta go in the system. They gonna get adopted. Not if you in the truth. If you in the truth and they in the truth, you better go take care of them and put them up under your household and your authority. We ain't giving them over to the system. All right, go ahead. We're gonna read down to verse 8.
Verse 8. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, when many maidens, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women.
So when it all was said and done, now Esther got thrown in the loop. Why? Because we just got to reading earlier. She was fair and beautiful. So, they're out there scouting around. They said, man, this is a bad one over there. Now with Mordecai the Jew, summon her too. So she gets thrown in the loop. Right? Drop down and read verse 12.
Verse 12. Now when every maid's turn was come to go into King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the women, for so were the days of their purification accomplished, to wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of the women. Then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women, to the custody of Ashkaz, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubine. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name.
Right. So we see now also for those that's needing another precept for your calendars, you see in verse 12 it says that there's 12 months. So keep that as a precept, right? But now we're seeing she went through the purification, 6 months with the oil and the myrrh, 6 months with the sweet odors. They wasn't rushing it. That's another thing for marriage classes. We'll do that in another time too. It ain't I've known her for about 2 weeks, and I think we're in love. How did you meet? I got a DM in my inbox, and we've been talking online for the last 2 weeks, man. She came over and boom, next you know, all hell breaks loose in your house because you rushed it. Yeah, we've been courting for about a month. I think this is the one. This is the one that's gonna bite your damn head off, or vice versa. Yo, he beat me, and I didn't know. I thought he was a good brother, and he don't teach me. He. Well, how long you known him? Well, we were talking for about 3 weeks online. What? Have you ever met him before? The first time we met is when we consummated. What? We met on HebrewMatchups.com. Negroes they got a Facebook group. They out here matchmaking and all kind of madness, man. Knock it off, man. You can see they even Ahasuerus said, man, I'm waiting at least a year. You didn't even see her. He said, man, purify, get him right for at least a year. I'm getting my house in order. I gotta do what I gotta make the kingdom to run. Okay, so keep that in mind. Read on. Let's read down to 18. As you read down to 17.
Verse 15. Verse 15. Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abigail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her.
Now imagine, go back and think about that map that you've seen, east to west, north to south, how big the 127 province, devoured much flesh, kingdom of the Persians and the Medes was, and guess who the prettiest, your most beautiful, virtuous, baddest thing walking on them grounds was a sister named Esther. And you got these jakes running around here, man, trying to get these little scallywag, you know, uh, fat Edomites out here, man, willing to go to the depths of the earth, man, for some more raggedy looking, maggot
Snow
out
bunny.
there, man. Snow bunny.
Snow bunny.
You know what? The best of the best comes from the 12. No question about it at all, right? And he didn't even know it. That's why you see them drooling and constantly, man, fiending up about women all the dang time. Influencing them by watching these commercials and TV and money and these what were they talking about, divesting about a couple years ago about this whole movement of sisters divesting away from dating black men, thinking they're gonna get their white savior, a white man, and pick them up off the curb and treat them to a life of luxury and royalty. Our sister, man, Esther, had that opportunity. She didn't even want it.
Right.
She's like, man, I don't want to deal with this damn heathen, man. I want to be with my people. I wish I could have an Israelite man. Circumstances was what they were. Nowadays, these sisters ready to do something strange for some change out the pockets of a damn heathen. But continue on down to 17.
Verse 16. So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus into his house, royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebet, in the 7th year of his reign.
He reigned 21 years. So 7th year of his reign. So that first year, that first 7 years, he was celebrating, having parties and all that. So now we're seeing in the 7th years when he reigned and took in Esther as his new queen. Okay.
17. Verse 17. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti.
You see, that's why we read that in Proverbs 19 about, the rulership of a king can be like a roaring lion, but he that gains favor is like the dew on the grass. So now that she had King Ahasuerus eating out the palm of her hand, and she wasn't even trying. He was like, man, I love her above any woman. Vashti, who? What? No. Esther. Hadassah, she's the one. Above all, I ain't looking nowhere else. Tunnel vision, the whole nine. Right? Jump over to chapter 3 and read verse 1. We're just going to jump around. Just all of y'all, everybody, if you have not read it, you ain't read it in a while, read the whole book. Read all 9 chapters of Esther. What else you gonna do on Purim? Go ahead.
Esther 3, chapter 1, verse 1. After these things, the king of Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agathite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed.
So now we see this guy, Haman, the Agagite, ruling within the realms of the Persians and the Medes. This guy was an Edomite. Let's jump over and let's get a couple precepts on that. First, Samuel 15:8, and then Numbers 24:7. First Samuel 15:8, then we'll do Numbers 24.
First Samuel 15 and
verse 8.
And Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah. He said verse 7 or 8?
15,
verse 8. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword.
Right. So we're seeing here. Remember, so Haman was an Agagite, right? So it's going back to tracing, well, whose bloodline did he come out of? Agag, the king of Agag, which was an Amalekite, right? Now jump over to Numbers 24 and read verse 7.
Numbers 24, verse 7. Verse 7, he shall pour the water out of the buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters, and his king shall be higher than a god, and his kingdom shall be exalted.
His kingdom's going to be exalted. So we've got a guy, the Amalekite, right? Now, if you read in Genesis 36, let's read that real quick, and then we'll go over to the additions of Esther. No, it was Genesis 36.
36 and
Amalek.
yeah, I think that's 13. 12.
Mm-hmm. You got 12 and then 16.
Genesis 36, verse 12. And Timna was concubine in Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare Eliphaz Amalek. These were the sons of Adah, Esau's wife.
Right. So we're talking about Esau. We read verse 1. We're talking about Edom, the so-called white man. This is his generations. Amalek was one of his sons. He became a duke, which was a ruling figure. This is why you see a god becoming a king out of the seed of Amalek and Edom. This is how he gets into his rulership. Haman, this is where we see where he's an Agagite or Agagite. All right. Jump over to your apocryphal. This is Esther. And I want to read 16. 16, I think I want verse
15. This is of Esther, chapter 16, verse 15. Verse 15. But we find that the Jews, whom this wicked wretch have delivered to utter destruction, are no evil
Something
doers.
like it, verse 10. Yeah, 16 and 10.
Verse 10. For Ammon, a Macedonian, the son of Amantatha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, and far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received us.
So there we also see he was acknowledged as being a Macedonian, which was also an Edomite, right? So there's no question now that we've got an Edomite that was ruling, and it said that he was far different than the Persians and the Medes. So he wasn't a Persian, he wasn't a Mede, he was serving in their kingdom and had his own, province of rulership, like a satrap or a vassal, within the kingdom. He had some power, right? That's why I said that his seat was above all the princes that were with him. So let's jump back over to Esther 3.
Book of Esther, chapter 3.
So we got this damn Amalekite, Edomite, dirtbag heathen ruling, having a seat of rulership within the Persians and the Medes, and he was exercising and flexing his power a little bit. Okay.
Esther 3:2. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence.
Mm-hmm.
Then the king's servants which were in the king's gate said unto Mordecai, Why transgressest thou the king's commandment?
You might want Jake's bowing down. You want everybody bowing down to him as if he was the king. That's the ways of the so-called white man, just the arrogancy that he always feels as though that he's superior, white privilege. When he walks around, we're supposed to just bow down and kiss the ring. And Mordecai was like, man, I'm not with that. I'm not bowing down to him. You can do that. We've seen the same example in the Greek captivity under Antiochus. Remember in First Maccabees chapter 1 and 41, it said that he wrote a decree there also be one people. It said all the heathen left their laws and their customs and became like, and many of the Jews also left off their custom and became like the Greeks. They were sending out the the messengers all over the place, making sure that everybody was bowing down and was going to give obeisance to him. What was his name? Antiochus Epiphanes, meaning what? Power manifested, God manifested. So he got the same mentality, man, as his predecessors. Remember, he was a Macedonian, so even in the Greek translations, it was understood that he was coming from the seed of Esau. He wasn't no different than a damn Greek. And he wanted everybody bowing down to him. So people's questioning Mordecai, man, why you ain't bowing down, man? The king gave a commandment. Go ahead.
Then the king's servants, which, let's see, verse 4. Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew.
But why you ain't about that? Man, I'm a Jew.
I'm a Jew.
Israelite, man, I don't follow your customs. Same way you gotta tell your boss.
Yeah.
How come you ain't celebrating Thanksgiving?
Yeah,
I'm a Jew. We don't do that.
Straight up.
What about Christmas? We don't do that. Happy New Year. We don't do that. Hey, Easter, the kids have Easter egg hunt. We don't do that. We are Jews.
Straight up.
How come you don't celebrate July? We don't do that. We're set apart. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
Oh, you think you special? You little black man. That's what he said in his mind. You dirty nigga.
Who the hell you think you are?
You black spook. Like, what, you think you're not going to bow down to me? Okay, you got me hot now. So not only am I going to take it out on you, but because you keep flaunting that you a Jew, I'm going to get all you people. Read verse 6. You're going to read down to, let's read down to verse 8.
Verse 6. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai.
Now, you see how wicked the so-called white man is? It said he thought about just dealing with Mordecai personally. He said, no, I'd rather just do genocide. You can't come over here and colonize the island or a country. You want to take everybody out. You ain't just taking out the first couple of natives that you meet or whatever. You want to kill every damn body. Oh, we're doing syphilis experimentations over here at Tuskegee. We're not just going to experiment on a few of y'all, man. We're going to do these experiments for 40 years. See if we can take y'all out. How do they react? Or we're not just going to do a study on lead paint in Baltimore and other areas, causing all kind of mental disorders and lead poisonings in our people under the Krieger Institute and John Hopkins in the 80s. Oh, and did the paint in all the projects in Baltimore and DC. But we're not just going to do one little part, but see what happens. Let's do it to everybody. So he said, man, I was thinking about just laying hands on Mordecai by myself, but you know what? I'd rather just give it all these things. Let me go make up a story to boss, Ahasuerus, and go tell a nice little white lie and add some extras onto it and get his approval. Go ahead.
Verse 7. In the first month, that is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day, and from month to month to the 12th month, that is the month Adar.
So now 5 years have passed since he was been married to Esther. Now for 11 months, here's Haman going day to day, month to month, to King Ahasuerus. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 8. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them.
So here he's saying, man, you got these people in here who's saying that they ain't keeping your commandments. He ain't talked to all the Jews. All he did, he talked to Mordecai. Mordecai said, I'm not bowing down to you. Now he gonna turn it into a whole nother thing in regards to dealing with the whole kingdom, right? So he's saying these people ain't worth having in your kingdom, man. They're rebellious. They got their own laws. They ain't following nothing, man. They won't listen to me. We need to get rid of them. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 9. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasuries.
Drop down, read verse 13. So he made the proposal and said, well, if it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. So he said, we need to put it in writing. Let's make sure that we can go ahead on and seal this deal, make a decree, and let's kill him. Verse 13.
Verse 13. And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews.
So the word went out, right? That he wanted to kill all of our people. Both. Hold on, give me Jeremiah 17:1. Show you why he said it had to be written there.
Look at Jeremiah 17
verse 1.
In verse 1. The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron.
See, notice when the Most High acknowledges something that's been written down in judgment, he said the sin of Judah has been etched in stone, is not removable. You can't say that it didn't happen. Judah was going to suffer punishment going into that Babylonian captivity. They were going to suffer. So it said the sin of Judah has been written with a pen of iron. Read.
And with the point of a diamond.
Was one of the hardest substances in the earth. That diamond point, right? That's why the importance of writing, documenting, sealing it was let it be known that once it was understood that it wasn't going to be broken. So that's why Haman said, well, if it's in the king's will, write it down. So, ain't going to be no stopping once we go. Right? That's all I wanted to say. You can jump back over to Esther. 3 and you read 13 already?
Yeah, I didn't finish it.
Okay.
And the letters were sent by post into the king's province to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women.
Same scenario that we just went through in talking about and dealing with Nicanor. They always want to kill everybody, man. So the sisters out there, man, don't be thinking you safe and they ain't gonna mess with me. I'm a single mother. I got 3. You the first ones they trying to get rid of. Because you the weak link and you got the next generation hanging around. I don't need no man. I'm single, black, strong. I'm an independent Latina. Really? If all hell breaks loose, you're gonna be begging for a Jake to come scoop you up off your feet and protect you. Because our enemies ain't playing. They got a history for going after the women and the children. The Greeks did it, the Persians and the Medes did it. Amalek, Esau, he loves it. He loves it. Ron played that video last night about the alligator bait and the history regarding it. So don't think you safe out there, sisters. You can make all the little viral little videos and TikToks and talk all you want to. But hey, when this thing goes down, you're gonna be saying, where's the Israelites at? Where's the man of the Lord at? Help! Let us be called by your name and take away our reproach. And Isaiah 4 gonna be kicking in heavy. Because we see.
Yeah.
The Midianites like nothing other than to grab our women, have their way with.
That's right.
Yeah, and
That's
dash
right.
them babies upside the head up against the wall. And
especially them Amalekites, the worst of the heathen. That's what the Most High said. He's the worst of the heathen.
Right.
So don't be thinking we can just slide by. Women be thinking, well, I'm a woman and what have you. No, the white man ain't gonna forget. He ain't forgetting. Ain't no sliding by. He gonna slide by you. Ain't gonna happen. He said, kill, destroy, and make perish old, young, children, women, everybody. Everybody. In other words, genocide.
Yeah.
Genocide.
That's right. And you can write down the additions of Esther to chapter 13, and that's the writing that he put out there.
Mm-hmm.
That Haman was seeking out. But jump back over and read 13 one more time.
Okay. And the letters were by post into the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little women and children, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey.
Now, see, that's where they cast the lot. They was casting. Remember back in verse 7, it said that for 11 months they were casting meaning casting lots to figure out which month were they going to actually execute this judgment. When were they going to go out? And it ended up being on the 12th month. 13th day, the Malay on this day, open season. Lots been cast. King's writing out the commission to say that this is lawful for us to go out there, kill all the Jews, sparing no woman, sparing no child, kill the men. We're getting rid of all of them, right?
In addition, I'll read this. In addition to Esther, chapter 13 and verse, I'll just start at verse 4. Declared unto us that in all nations throughout the world there was scattered a certain malicious people, talking about us, so-called, that had laws contrary to all nations, and continually despised the commandment of kings, so as the uniting of our kingdoms, honorably intended by us, cannot go forward. This is Haman's decree. Seeing then we understand that this people alone is continually in opposition unto all men, differing in the strange manner of their laws, and evil affected to our state, working all the mischief they can, that our kingdom may not be firmly established. Therefore have I commanded that all they that are signified in writing unto you by Haman, who is ordained over the affairs and is next unto us, shall all with their wives and children be utterly destroyed by the sword of their enemies, without all mercy and pity, 14th day of the 12th month Adar of this present year, that they who of old and now also are malicious may in one day with violence go into the grave, and so ever hereafter cause our affairs to be well settled and without trouble. Amen. Put us totally out of the picture.
Straight up. They said, man, this is what's stopping the unification of all the nations. They're getting in the way with their strange laws. They're the ones causing a stir. We can't have peace and rulership as long as they exist. And they said, and we got to take them out violently. It wasn't like, let's just exile them out and give them a little strip of land, tell them go over here. It wasn't no go back to Africa and all that. No.
They just do
We got to get rid of us violently. right? It said women, children, men, nobody was excluded. All right, nobody excluded. 3, read down to 15.
Verse 14. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day.
All people. Now remember, we're talking about from Ethiopia all the way to India and everywhere in between. The word went out. You got these Jews around you, it's open season. On this day, do what you need to, but take them out with violence. Don't spare them at all. Word's getting spread, right? Go ahead.
Verse 15. The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink. But the city Shushan was perplexed.
So everybody is wondering, like, what's going on? Like, why is now the world getting turned upside down? Now, remember, if the whole city of Shushan is perplexed, meaning they're in confusion. Like, what happened? That nobody else is complaining outside of this damn Edomite. They're saying, yeah, we got this decree with the Jews, put them to death, kill it. What? Why the king why would he put this? Haman's telling us. Haman's out there lying, talking about the Jews. They hate you, king. They gonna stir up the pot. They gonna get everybody rebel. Remember what happened to Vashti? You got a whole people that's like that right now. We need to take them out. Come on, boss. Unbelievable. Far be it from, white man to lie. I mean, look at Rosewood. Rosewood, white woman gets raped by a damn white man. She went out the house and say it was a nigga. It was a nigga.
Yeah.
Look at Nero. When he burned down half of Rome and then it burned down all of Rome, blaming Christians, which was us. Self-sabotage, man.
Yeah.
But if it means getting rid of you so-called Negroes and Hispanics and Native Americans proclaiming your nationality and standing up for what's right according to the law, statutes, and commandments is a problem. Why do you think the so-called white man put out the decree talking about black identity extremists? Need to be documented and be watched. These guys is out here practicing. They going to the range, they're identifying who they are. They're meeting and they're gathering together. They're becoming quote unquote woke. This is an endangerment. What about J. Edgar Hoover said he had a fear of a black messiah? The unity and the coming together of black folks make it mean the end of America. We can't have that. Same spirit. Everything keeps playing out the same old way, man. That's why the Most High said the only way it's gonna stop is you gotta get rid of him. He's got to be burned. There shall be none remaining. He got to go, because otherwise he's gonna always have that fear, that insecurity, as long as we're out here walking around strutting our stuff with our fringes flaring, and we're denying eating his unclean foods and his idols and everything else. He can't have no rulership like that. So he's like, look, you better get rid of him. So the same thing was going on back then. All right. Jump over. Let's see. Read verse 4 and just read 1 down to 4.
Chapter 4, verse 4. Verse 4. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him. But he received it not. Then called Esther for Hathach, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. So Hathach went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. Also he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to go charge her that she should go in unto the king, to make supplication unto him, and to make the request before him for her people. And Hatak came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again Esther spake unto Hatak, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days.
So, Esther, Mordecai, they come together and they have to come to an understanding where Esther is going to be the only mouthpiece on behalf of the Jews to try to sweet talk Ahasuerus out of this particular decree that was put forth, right? And she said, well, I can't even approach the king's court. Every 30 days is when I get a pass to come through. It ain't been 30 days yet. What am I supposed to do? All right, jump over to the addition to Esther 14. I want to read a little bit out of there too. 14 and start at verse 1.
Edition of Esther, chapter 14, verse 1. Queen Esther also, being in fear of death, resorted unto the Lord, and laid away her glorious apparel, and put on the garments of anguish and mourning. And instead of precious ointments, she covered her head with ashes and dung, and she humbled her body greatly. And all the places of her joy she filled with her torn hair. And she prayed unto the Lord Yahweh of Israel, saying, O my Lord, thou only art our king. Help me, desolate woman, which have no helper but thee.
So this is Esther. She's praying to the Lord. Remember, she said that she was even feared getting put to death. She resorted to the Lord. She didn't go anywhere first. Just, the Most High always says, man, I'm point A when you're going through something. Sickness, go to him first. Employment, finances, go to him first. Fear, death, captivity, lockup, go to him first, right? So she lays out all her supplications and her prayers to the Most High in regards to the situation that her and our people was put in. Now, drop down and read verse 13. So she's even praying to the Most High to even give her the words of speech to say. Because what are you going to say? You hear this word, she's like, how can I, run some game on this guy, man? I got to get him. I got favor, but I don't know if I can turn this one around. Only the Lord's word is going to make this happen. So go ahead and read that.
Verse 13. Mm-hmm. Give me eloquent speech in my mouth before the lion. Turn his heart to hate him that fighteth against us, that there may be an end of him and of all that are like-minded to him. Mm-hmm. But deliver us with thine hand, and help me that am desolate, and which have no other helper but thee.
Okay.
Thou knowest all things, O Lord. Thou knowest that I hate the glory of the unrighteous, and abhor the bed of the uncircumcised, and of all the heathen.
She said she abhors, man. She hates being in the bed with this uncircumcised heathen, man. She said she hates the glory of the unrighteous. Mm-hmm. This ain't no soft sister, man. She said that the cat man that put this decree out, I pray that this whole thing gets found on him, he gets put to death. And anybody that's like it. Read.
Verse 16. Thou knowest my necessity, for I abhor the sign of my high estate.
She hated being queen. She didn't like sitting up in that glory bed. Sisters be out there, girl, if that was me, I'd be doing this. I'd be buying this. I'm taking me shopping. I'm spending this. She was like, are you serious? I hate this. If I gotta be attached to this damn heathen for life,
Mm, mm.
I'm not with it. But in order for my people to have a way out, then that's just what it is.
Man, that's going to be a beautiful thing when we get back to that.
Right,
You know,
right.
when the sisters can have the mindset of an Esther and the brothers the mindset of Yahushua,
God.
man,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
we got to get out of this captivity.
That's when you know Esau really gonna lose his damn mind.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 16, thou knowest my necessity, for I abhor the sign of my high estate, which is upon mine head in the days wherein I slew myself, and that I abhor it as a mistress rag,
Mm.
and that I wear it not when I am private by myself. Wow.
See that?
Ooh-wee.
That's a bold sister,
That's
man.
a bold
She's
sister,
like, man,
man.
she's
Look.
pleading to the Most High how much she had to dealing with this damn heathen, and pray to the Most High to give her the eloquent speech.
Mm.
See within her heart and her spirit, man, how much she really desired the love for her people and hatred for these other nations.
Mm.
For the decree that was getting put out there, she was praying to the Most High, man. Just tell me what I need to do
Mm.
in order for my people and myself to be delivered. Okay. For time's sake, we're just gonna jump down and start closing out and read a couple more excerpts from these chapters.
Mm.
As we're continuing on. So the decree goes out, right? Jump over into let's read let's read chapter 4 and drop down to read verse 6. Chapter 4. That's the 4.
Oh, okay. Okay.
4 and verse 16. So now Esther's she gets counsel from Mordecai. Mordecai says, okay, look, you're going to have to go talk to the king. He says, well, you can't just cross over in the king's court unannounced. You have to be invited. I get every 30 days I'm going over there, but my 30 days ain't came up. He was like, well, look, you got to take it to the Lord. We got to pray on this. Most High willing, man, you shielded and protected. And the grace of the king falls upon you. Remember, she already gained his favor all the way back from Proverbs 16. It said that if she got his favor, it's going to be like dew on the grass. And then we just got the reading. And the additions Esther said, well, give me the fair speech that basically tamed the lion. So now she's being able to use that wisdom, use that spirit to be able to go and approach the king, right? But she wanted one thing, and she knew that she needed to do it in unification with the children of Israel. All right, go and read that at Esther 4 and 16.
Verse 16. Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish.
So when you write down 1 Corinthians 1 and 10, scripture tells us that we need to be of like mind, like speech. What else did it say? 1 Corinthians 1 and 10. But in other words, 1 Corinthians 1 and 10 is a precept to let you know about being on one accord. All right. And that's what Esther was calling for all of Israel to be on one accord for this. So she said 3-day fast needs to take place in order to make this happen. Everybody's going to fast, no food, no water. And after the 3 days is up, she's going to go break the law of the Persians and the Medes and approach the court uninvited. And she said, if they put me to death, then I just die. Most Most High be with everybody, you know, because everybody's gonna be getting put to death if this don't work, right? So she went and said, "Look, my life is on the line. If I die, then it is what it is. If I live, then we got a shot." Okay. Jump over to verse 6. I'm slacking up verse 6. Chapter 6.
Yeah.
Chapter 6, read verse 1 down to 3.
So her name was changed as soon as her parents passed away. Desert. So
Yeah.
her name was changed at a young age.
Yeah, at a young, yeah. You know, it's similar to like, let's say for Saul and Paul, you know, when you get put under different rulerships, we always had adoptive names of the rulership of the said kings or kingdom.
Yeah.
Or what, so hers is similar.
Like Daniel. Chapter 6, verse 1. On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the Chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. And the king said, "What honor and dignity hath been done to Mordecai for this?" Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, "There's nothing done for him." And the king said, "Who is in the court? Who's in the court?" Now Haman was come into the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him.
So Mordecai prepared these gallows. He was going to have not Mordecai, Haman had these gallows prepared. He was going to hang Mordecai publicly. Reading previously, if you read previously, there was an assassination attempt on Ahasuerus' life. Mordecai helped foil a plot. The two servants I believe they were eunuchs, had confessed. They got put to death. It was recorded, and Ahasuerus couldn't sleep, so he's going over his book of records and history, and he's like, "Man, there was an attempt on my life, and you know this guy Mordecai, man, helped save my life. Well, did he ever get taken care of?" And it was like, "No, he didn't do nothing for that black, you know, that nigga. He was damn too." So he's like, "Hold on, this guy did a heroic deed, and you telling me he didn't get nothing? That's not how I get down, right?" You read down to 3.
I read.
You read 4.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's jump over to verse 6 and read down to 9.
Verse 6. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, "What shall be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor?" Now Haman thought in his heart, "To whom would the king delight to do honor more than to myself?"
Look at Eric and see the white man. He think everybody love him so much, man. He said, "Well, the king come in." He said, "Well, bring Haman on in here, man." He said, "So what should I do to the man that I'm delighted, I'm ready to honor?" And Haman sitting up there, "Oh yeah, I'm finally gonna get my just due. Oh yeah, can't wait." Right? He said, "Well, who's better than me?" Go ahead.
Verse 7. And Haman answered the king, "For the man whom the king delighted to honor, let the royal apparel be brought which the king uses to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set up on his head."
You know, this devil's all in his imagination right now. He's gazing out in the days, just imagining himself riding on the king's horse, dipped out with the king's apparel on, and you know everything. He's sitting up there saying, "I can see it right now, man. I'm gonna be out there. Everybody's gonna love me. Everybody's gonna see me out there. Oh wait, it's going down." Right? Go ahead.
And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal whom the king delighted to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, "Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor." Then the king said to Haman, "Make haste, and take the apparel and the horse."
He said, "Hey, okay, now I'll let you know what's going down. You're gonna have the king's apparel. He's gonna be amongst his most noble princes. He's He's gonna ride on horseback, man. He's gonna be dipped out in the king's apparel. Everybody's gonna see him and know him. They said, "Now, hurry up! Now go get the stuff." And Haman in his mind, he's still thinking, "I gotta get it, but okay, even if I gotta get it, I'll go get it and put it on myself." Go ahead.
As thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew.
He said, "What? the Jew? I thought this was for me. What are you talking about, Mordecai the Jew?" His spirit had to be cut to the heart.
Drop
man.
down
He was
to
so
his,
hurt.
Drop down to his foot.
Yeah, go ahead.
That sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken.
And he said, "You better not drop the ball either. Everything I said better come to pass. You better not fail." Well, that's your $A $sign. All right. Verse 11. Then we'll drop over to chapter 7.
Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaimed before him, "Thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor." He hated saying that.
Man, he say under his breath, between his teeth.
Ooh-wee.
Drop down in chapter 7, start at verse 1.
Verse 1. So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, "What is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom."
He said, "Look, anything that you want, Esther, it is yours. You just say what the decree is. You can have anything up to half of my kingdom. It is yours." And Haman's sitting there listening to this. He's like, "She's a damn Jew. And you talking about Mordecai? Damn black Jew got it again. God, he's hot. He got to sit there fake smiling, and you know how they do. Like you said, they disarm you when you get on the elevator. You walk around. They want to smile. Hi.
They want to smile and everything.
They want to smile for hello, how are you? You like,
I ain't got no smile for you.
What's wrong with you, man? But they want to disarm me. A fake smile, fake little hug, fake handshake, and everything else. He got to do it all right now. All right, go ahead.
Then Esther the queen answered and said, "If I have found favor in thy sight, O king."
Well, since you mentioned it, go ahead.
"And if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage."
As she said, we have been through some captivity before. If it was just about captivity, I'd have been quiet. We just had to go through it again. But this go around, there's a decree to kill all of my people and me. Now, Ahasuerus is like, what? Hold on, what are you talking about? Somebody trying to kill you? My beloved queen? And your people? No, something. I didn't hear about this. And meanwhile, he don't know what he don't know what the little okey doke and wool pulled over his eyes that Haman did, being a slick fork tongued demon that he was.
Yeah.
Now we get a little bit more detail. Right, go ahead. Go read down to verse 6.
Verse 5. Then the king of Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, "Who is he? And where is he that durst presume in his heart to do so?" And Esther said, "The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman."
Adversary and this wicked Haman. Ain't that something? And he's sitting right there. You see them movies, they take a big gulp like
swallow this tongue.
Swallow this face. Now he's in trouble, right?
Yeah.
And isn't Satan called the adversary as well? Now he's acknowledging white man is Satan. Satan, he said the adversary is Satan over here, the white man, the devil. The wicked is trying to put us to death, my king. Drop down, read verse 10.
Let me finish.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's like, yeah, finish that.
Then Haman was afraid before the king.
Doing it.
Oh man, lying.
Oh, you sure?
On this one.
Hold on. No, that wasn't me. It wasn't me. Now I'm dating myself, but I didn't see it when I was. I saw it when I was little, but not when it first came out. But the Warriors. Remember that movie?
Oh, yeah, that was
the Warriors. And when the Edomite finally, the Edomite gang that got caught by the rifts at the beach, and the Edomite started whining and crying. He was talking big and bad and set up the Warriors. You know, this was a movie from like ended 1979 or something like that. I saw it like in the 80s when I was a kid. I was like, dang, this movie's good. Anyway, the Edomite gets to whining and crying. He's standing in front of about 50 Jakes because he killed their leader, and the Jake leader was trying to do a gang truce amongst all the gangs. And the Edomite start copping the plea, telling me, it wasn't us. It was them. It was the Warriors. They did it. I'm sorry, it wasn't us. This is how you see, hey, it wasn't me. I didn't mean it. I thought I was doing something good for the kingdom.
Lying. Ain't no way.
Now he said he's in fear of the king and the queen. Right, drop down with verse 10.
Verse 10. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai.
So he reaped what he sowed. Right? So those same gallows he had lined up for Mordecai, he thought he was going to be wearing the king's clothes and riding on the horse, which Mordecai ended up doing. Everything that he did got reversed on him.
Yeah.
That's why when we read in the scriptures and the Most High said, well, Esau's the end of the world and Jacob is beginning to follow it, everything's going to be back reversed. His kingdom is going to be handed over you got to hand it over. You hand over the keys.
You want to enjoy before you get the keys.
Yeah, that's why I tell these Edomites, man, sitting out here hanging with signs talking about we'll work for food and the old vet can ask for water. I'm like, man, you better get out here and live it up while you can.
While you can.
It's your kingdom, man. Ain't no reason why you should be out here. And you look at their arm with all kind of damn track marks and heroin and everything else. You like, okay, you decided to do that.
Yeah,
because the kingdom, this is your kingdom. You have it all.
Man.
Clean yourself up, man. I guarantee you're gonna get a damn job at the job.
Coming off from under the freeway,
you know. Coming straight out the damn tunnels or the underground tunnels with the Amalekites hanging with the Ninja Turtles. Hanging with the rats. They come right out, man, and be back ruling the damn kingdom.
Thank you.
Nah, we're not doing that. So Haman got put to death by his own decree, right? And if you read chapter 8, now Esther put out a decree. She told Ahasuerus, she said, well, look, the decree's already been put out. You know, all the nations and everybody within your kingdom already got word. They all are ready to put us all to death. My people are still scattered throughout the four corners of your kingdom. What are we going to do for them? Ahasuerus turned around and said, look, it's going to be in writing. Don't nobody touch the Jews, man. Anybody approach them, the Jews got every right to kill them. Put them to death, put it back, reverse the judgment. So that's exactly what happened. The decree went out, all the nations got word, and it was already understood that the Jews were able to defend themselves, can go out there and put to death anybody that stepped to them. And let's read verse 17 of chapter 8.
Verse 17. And in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness.
That's right. So we got joy and gladness, man. So this is what we're talking about. Yeah, sure. 1979, the Warriors. Yeah, that's right. I know if Jake's watching now, they're going to be like, man, this is corny, man. What are you talking about? It's a good movie. Nah. Back then, it was good.
Right.
Like I said, I didn't even know the movie exists. I think I was like maybe about 13 or something, 8th grade or something like that when I first seen it on TV in the 80s. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I like this. But the old heads, y'all know, The Warriors, man.
I remember vaguely. Vaguely.
They've had a video game, man. They made a video game out there. They had a whole little resurgence of it. It was a real cult classic back in the day. But
let me finish that.
Yeah, go ahead.
And the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day.
And that's what we're getting ready to do. If we conclude class, we're gonna feast, man. We got a good day. Why? Because the Lord delivered us, man, through the grace and the mercies and the beauty and the wisdom and the mouthpiece of our sister, man, and the wisdom and the guidance of her cousin and Mordecai standing up as being a Jew to defend the laws and the customs of our people, and the destruction of the damn devil and the so-called white man that try to set us up and try to take our people out and have a complete genocide on our people. And the Lord stepped in and gave us favor and said, no, that's not happening. And actually, we're going to put them to death. And the judgment of the so-called white man is as thus.
That's what it says. And many of the people of the land became Jews.
Right.
For the fear of the Jews fell upon them.
That's right.
So everybody trying to be us, but you can't be us.
No.
Because it's not about the out appearance, it's about the inner bloodline.
Yeah. They can't literally become an ethnic Jew or become part of the bloodline. You can't be grafted in that way. They became Jews, meaning what? They became subject to the Jews. They became aware of and abided by our laws and our commandments. This is where you start getting conversions of the people of the land. Now trying to become Jews, because why? Only through fear. And that's the same thing that's going to happen when this World War III crack off and everything goes down as far as the end of this man's kingdom. The nation is going to say, look, we're in fear. According to Isaiah 14 and Micah the 5th chapter, 4th chapter, and Zechariah the 8th chapter, they're going to be coming grabbing at the skirt of him that's a Jew, and they're going to say, man, we're willing to come along and do whatever each other can do. Isaiah 60, you're going to build up the walls. You're doing it all. Because the fear of the Jews is going to fall upon these nations, and they're going to say, just like in ancient Egypt, we heard and know that the Most High is with you. Can we come along with you as a mixed multitude clinging to the J? Same thing every time. But it's going to be the last go-round. Last go-round. Chapter 9, let's wrap it up. Chapter 9, and let's read verse 1, and then we'll drop down.
Esther 9:1. Now in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had ruled over them that hated them. The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king of Ahasuerus to lay hand on such as saw their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people.
Right.
And all the rulers of the provinces and the lieutenants and the deputies and officers of the king helped the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them.
See that? So they all switched their tone real quick. They said, look, we're riding with the Jews. And we'll go out, we'll put to death anybody that's against you. Right? Go ahead.
For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater.
And that gives you an understanding too about the nations, the nations and these heathens, man. Don't think just because they're going out talking about Black Lives Matter, or because they want to, get out there because they love you so much. And the fear is what makes them say, look, we're better with them than against them. Not because of so much they respect you and love you so much, and you're so. They're like, look, man, it's either we can be on the other side of history and be in their wrath, or we can actually acquiesce and get along with them because of the fear that they have for us, right? So we see what happens, man. The children of Israel start putting to death all the legacy of Haman. They killed all of his sons. They were putting to death anybody that came up against them. Through the petition and the glory of the Most High. Drop down and let's read verse 18.
Verse 18.
Mm-hmm.
But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof.
Actually, read verse 17.
Verse 17.
Mm-hmm.
On the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of the same, rested they, and made it a day of feasting and gladness.
Right. So on the 13th and 14th day, they made a day of feasting and gladness. Now, if we continue on, read.
But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th thereof, and on the 15th day of the same, they rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Therefore, the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to another.
Right. So portions get sent one to another. There was exchanges of gifts given to one another. Everybody being in mirth and gladness. So initially they had it from the 13th to the 15th. So we're looking at it from the Hebrew calendar perspective. Yesterday would have been the 13th. Today's the 14th. If you go outside and you look up at that moon right now, it's almost full. Tomorrow is going to be a full moon, which will be the 15th day. Well, we'll see that it's ended up being a 2-day feast. The 13th day historically ended up getting replaced with the Feast of Nicanor. Okay, so that's why we have back-to-back feasts. So it's Nicanor first, then the 2 days of Purim, right? So we still have 3 days of feasting, mirth, gladness, and enjoyment, right? Continue reading. You can read verse 20. Mm-hmm.
And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, both near and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar and 15th day of the same yearly, as the days wherein the Jews rested with their enemies.
Not with.
Within wherein the Jews rested from their enemies.
That's right. Go ahead.
And the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor.
Right. So this is all part of the customs from feasting. Leave off your mournings, your bad days, your sorrows, your depressions. All those spirits got to be exercised on this day. The next couple of days, man, leave it all behind. All right.
Enjoy yourself.
Enjoy yourself. Enjoy, and even if you got to work, you still stay in the spirit, and have some mirth and some gladness, man, and always reflect on this history because it's important. It's important. So we have feast and joy. We do gift exchanges and stuff, things of that nature during this time, man, and really enjoy each other's company because of the fact that it almost wasn't a point we was going to be able to do this.
It's not a Sabbath, but just enjoy yourselves.
Yeah, it's not a Sabbath, but it is a memorial and a remembrance and a day of feasting and gladness and joy. All right. That's it. You can read all the rest of the chapter, but for the most part, that's the histories of why we celebrate Purim, understanding the legacy of Queen Esther, Mordecai, the grace and the mercies and the power of the Most High, man, delivering us from what's going to be a genocidal said death on our people, man, to a point to where we were gloried and became the envy of the nations, and we were able to celebrate with each other, man, for 2 days, known as Purim. So with that, man, we're going to close out and give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. We're going on with our feasting and giving of portions one to another, man. I want to say shalom to the brothers and sisters that's online, and for those that couldn't make it presently with us here. Hopefully y'all have a blessed feast of Purim. And other than that, man, we're going to sign off. Shalom.
Shalom.